I love this particular subject because for me anyway, it's heaps and heaps of fun. And I hope it's going to be some fun for you too. Now, if anyone does, as we're going, need to move, you can do that. This is not a talk where you need to sit and be silent and listen. This is a talk where I expect you to, if you need to stand on a chair, if you need to shout and get me to change and move somewhere so you can see better, if you need to fiddle with one of these figurines just because it makes you feel happier, go forth and do so, right? This is not one of those talks. Good man. Okay. Particularly for those in the back rows, if you want to move around somewhere else, you want to come and sit in one of it doesn't matter. Just make sure you can see. Because what we're talking about tonight is important stuff. And I need all of you engaged. I need you all switched on to this subject because we've called this the Angel's War Room. How many people here know what a war room is? Ooh, tricky. So a war room is this. When, for example, an American president decides to go to war and he decides to start, there's a room, and in that room are all the maps, and the generals all come in and they say, well, our soldiers are here and their soldiers are there, and this is, we're going to make them go boom over there with our boomy things, and bam, that'll deal with it. And so they have a room in which they map out everything that's going on. And right now, in some way or other, there's a room like that in heaven. It probably doesn't look like a table tennis table with some masking tape on it and a few maps. But the angels have an idea of exactly what's going to happen in our future, in our world. And what we're going to try and do is behave like them tonight, to think like the angels and map out what's going to happen. Because you see, it's all well and good for me to turn up all these chapters and verses and take us to all these places. But you've got to understand it, and it's important because we're going to be there. Every one of us, we're all going to be there. One way or the other, we're there. So it's important we engage, and likely we'll be part of this. So, house rules. If I talk fast and you don't understand anymore, stick up a hand or throw a figurine at me or something, make me slow down. That's your job, not mine. I'm excited. I have to get you guys excited. So look, if you're not understanding, make me stop. Secondly, if I speak a different language, suddenly he's talking in Swahili. What the heck was that word? He just said something I've never heard before. Stop me and say, what? You know the rule. Only dumb question is the one you were too scared to ask, right? And thirdly, there are no rules for this talk. I don't have notes. Look for the notes. I don't have set slides. I've saved some cool stuff from the studies that we've done this weekend for you guys that I didn't tell the others, but there's other stuff that we'll just go wherever you want. So if there's something you're interested in, speak. Are we all good with that? Yes, Uncle Dan, we're all good with that. All right, sure? Okay, 2 people are sure. This is really good. Off to an excellent start. So what we want to do to start with, we've all heard that chapter, Ezekiel 38. The back row have hopefully got Bibles. We've heard that chapter lots of times, and we want to just make sure we know who's who. And by the way, I've got some trick questions for you here because they're not quite who we always say they are. So here we go. There are 2 sides. I'm going to switch maps just for a minute. There are 2 sides. Is that doing what I want it to do? No, it's not. Let's just get the proper presentation up. 2 sides. We're going to call them red side and blue side. I've got green ones. Someone pointed that out. I'm really sorry. Green soldiers and red soldiers, but red side and blue side. So what I want us to do is just use the names in Ezekiel 38 and let's work out who the 2 sides are and put them on a map. Alrighty. So, and then we'll come back and just prove who's who and make sure we're happy with that. So does anyone want to start us off with one of those names? Gog. Great start. Anyone know what Gog is? Good start. Excellent start. And also wrong. Told you trick questions. But well done, man. Connected with Russia, very connected with Russia, not much wrong, just a little bit wrong. Anyone have a go? Gog is not Persia either, but we're on the right track in the right zone. But you're saying Persia's there. You weren't saying Gog is Persia, were you? Okay, so let's start with Gog. What's Gog? Nice. Good work, mate. So Gog it's just a word that means the guy at the top, the one right, the big kahuna. That's Gog. All right? So right above this whole war that is going to come, there's the puppet master, the guy who's making everyone else dance. That is Gog, the scary one. All right, so we've got Gog. Yes, Uncle Matt. Yes.
When we're in Russia, and people's taking a break with the Prime Minister and become president, they said, yes, he's the Prime Minister, but he's Christian. Not worry, he's the real Christian. I said to the old, this is what Christian means. It means roof. It means the guy at the top.
Nice. Who's the creature? Who's the one at the top? Same word. So Putin was described as the one at the top. So it's going to be a guy sitting in a similar position to Putin, if not Putin. All right. Does everyone know who Putin is? Anyone? If you don't know who Putin is, just really quietly shake your head right now. Oh, you don't know? Okay, so he is the ruler. I'm looking over here so I don't give anyone away. He is the ruler of Russia at the moment, and he is nothing other than a dictator. Okay? And we believe that the person who, in the end of times, pulls those strings and takes the whole world to war will be a tyrannical, murderous, racist dictator. And his name, in terms of the Bible, is Gog. Alrighty, who else? Rosh. Excellent start. Now, I am going to flip back again. This is going to be annoying. Rosh. All right, here they all are. Rosh. Let's give it all away. Who's Rosh? Trick question, by the way. Be careful. Careful. Wrong? No, not completely wrong. Let me show you this. This one's a tricky one, and I want you to see this because it is a little bit tricky. So let me show you. Rosh, it's an old word. It's lots of people have struggled with it. And we're told in Ezekiel 38 that Rosh, Meshach, and Tubal come from the uttermost parts of the north, which means the cold, dark places. The places where they have really, really long days of darkness followed by long days of short days of light. And if you go due north of Israel, you come to broadly Russia. But who is Rosh is more the question. Well, here's what we know from the Bible about Rosh. It's in Ezekiel. It's connected with Meshach and Tubal. Very northern. And they've given their name to lots of locations. There's lots of places called Rosh. And here's an oldish map, not old. And you can see I've circled a few places like the River Ross and a place called Ruskanov. And there are more throughout there. And if we want to know kind of where Rosh broadly is, well, let's just zoom in a bit more there. Where do you reckon it is? You see, the capital of Rosh was a place called Kiev. Anyone here heard of Kiev? Chicken Kiev? Anyone here? Kiev? What country is it the capital of? Go for it. Be brave. It's not Russia. You have a second guess? Well done. That is brilliant. How did you know that? Ukraine. So Rosh is actually an old name, most likely for the territory of Ukraine and a few other bits like Belarus and a little bit of Russia, but let's say Ukraine. So that's why that one's a trick question. It sounds like Russia, but it's actually closer to Ukraine. Alrighty. So while we're zoomed in here and you can't see the rest of the answers, who else have we got? We've got Rosh, Ukraine, trick. Who else we got? Magog. Very, very good. All right. So, not where I want to go. Let's just zoom back out somewhere sensible. Hold it. Magog. Who knows who Magog is? And this is a hard one, by the way. I will take any answer that is not Addis Ababa. Magog. Oh, lots of guesses tonight. No one wants to try because I've been too mean. All right, here we go. Magog. So, Herodotus, one of the earliest historians, 450 BC, so that's before your dad was small, said that Magog spread from the river Danube, which is the Don, a river that exists today, westward along the banks of the Ister or the Danube. So we can put that on a map. Here's the Danube, roughly. There's the Don. And so what we're being told is Magog is the stuff between those rivers. So all these countries, all of them. So broadly, Magog is Eastern Europe, Russia-ish, just the eastern bit of Europe. It's kind of like this big basket of terms of countries, and it just means the eastern bit. Okay? So that one's really easy when you know, but hard to remember. All right. Anyone want to yes? Really good question. And to the best of my knowledge, it just sounds like there's a connection. There might be something lurking in there, but not that I'm aware of. But that is a great question. Thank you. All right. We've got some others. Persia. Now, tricky one. Where is Persia? Be careful here. Be careful. I'll be telling your father. Oh, I'm definitely telling your father. We need to work on this. Where is Persia? Anybody? It is near Turkey. Yep. Ish. Like Iran. What a wonderful memory you have. That is brilliant. All right. Persia. Oops. That's not what that's what we'll do. We'll go. There it is. Iran. On a map. You can even see where it is. So, on this map, for example, it's this one, right there, this one here. That's Persia, right? Okay, who else have we got? Tubal, all right. Do you know where Tubal is? I didn't hear who said it. No? Just know the name. All right, here we go. Here's Tubal. So that's Russia as a whole, spreading across the top of the world. But if we look at Tubal, there's a really interesting thing. There's a series of places that have a particular name. Tobolsky, Tobolsk, the Tobol River in Kazakhstan, different rivers, by the way. And there's a sort of piece of science where what they do is they work out where someone went by just saying, does this place name exist there as well? Because people tend to name things the same thing when they go somewhere new. If you live somewhere and you go, oh, we'll call this river. When you go somewhere else, you also call it river. And so they can just track the similarity of names. And so there's reason to believe that this whole territory here is the territory of Tobolsky, of Tubal, pardon me. And so here's the capital. The capital is a city called Tobolsk. So broadly, pardon me, it does service, that's horrible, isn't it? I'm going to do my head. It's doing service for Siberia, Eastern Russia. So Siberia, Eastern Russia, sort of blanket term. Any others? Meshech, very good. And I think Meshech's relatively easy myself because it kind of does sound like what it is. So Meshech is, there's a place called Moscow, which just happens to, here's what Gesenius, the most famous Hebraist, said. The Greeks, Moscow is derived from the Hebrew Meshech, which is the source name for Moscow. So that's what the best Hebraist said, but you don't have to go based on that. Here's a map of Moscow, and the territory I've highlighted in red there around Moscow is what's called the Meshekian Highlands, or Mishkaria Highlands, lowlands, pardon me. I'll get it right. Apparently quite nice to go in the springtime, but don't try it in winter. It's cold. Meshech, Muscovy. Any others? The faster we get through these, the faster we get to fiddling with stuff. We've done Rosh, Ukraine. We've done Meshech, Muscovy. We've done Tubal, Siberia. Together, those three, Rosh, Meshech, and Tubal, is kind of the broad span of Russia. We've done Magog, Eastern Europe. We've done Persia. They're up there. How about Ethiopia? Careful, this one is tricky. Wrong. So fun. All right, so Ethiopia is Sudan, most likely. You can find, it's the Hebrew word Cush. You look for Cush in Wikipedia, for example, and it puts it right where I put it on the map there. So yeah, that one is a tricky one. It really wasn't fair of me, but boy, was it fun. Okie dokie. Who would like to take on Libya? Go on, have a crack at Libya. Go on, good. It is! Nice work. We had to get it right eventually. That's great. So Libya, here it is on a map. Ancient Libya and also just Libya. Yes. Okie dokie. Very good. Others. We've done Persia, Ethiopia, Libya. We've done Rosh, Meshech, Tubal, Magog, and Gog. Togarmah. Do you know where it is? And it's a hard one. Yeah, so we used to say Turkey, but there was a reason. We actually misread what Brother Thomas said because he talked about the Turkoman cavalry, and people just went, Turkoman cavalry? That's Turkey. Actually, it's not. Turkoman cavalry, well, how to explain this? Togarmah is, we learn from the Bible that there are a group of people who are famous for riding around on horses and having raiding bands. And when I say raiding bands, it doesn't mean they'd sort of scream into a pub, play some songs, and off they'd go. Completely different to that, and much less fun if you lived in the area. They would basically ride into a township and steal everything and ride off on their horses. And we know roughly where they came from. They lived between, let's see if we can get it up on the map. Where are we? Togarmah. This will give us some stuff I don't really want to go through. Traders of horses, horsemen, and mules, that's what we're told. They had bands, which wasn't musical, much less musical than we think. I'm going to skip through this stuff, but this is good. There's a map of roughly where Togarmah is. And if you can kind of orient yourself, it's that area north of Turkey between the Caspian Sea and the Black Sea and on the far side of the Caspian Sea. Okay, and the horsemen, wild horsemen. So there's a kind of general rule to remember who they are. Oh, there's a family photograph of Togarmah. Camera is not as good back then, but anyway, Togarmah's the one in the middle. That's Togarmah. But as a general rule, if you want to remember where they are, they're just the ones that are called Stan. There's a few extras, but Stan. So, for example, Uzbekistan and Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan and Kyrgyzstan and, here, I'll put it on a map for you. Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Azerbaijan, Stanistan, and Made-Up-a-Stan. All of those are the stands with there's a couple of them that aren't real, just in case any of you are unsure. Made-Up-a-Stan? Really? I'm going to book flights there. No such place as Made-Up-a-Stan, but just anywhere a stand with the exception of really Pakistan. That's the one you leave out. And also Georgia and Azerbaijan. So that sort of territory. Okay, we are almost at the end of doing some identification. Tarshish? Anyone want to have a crack at Tarshish? Nicely done. It is the UK. I'll try to leave that one as it is. I don't think we need to go. Does everyone comfortable with it being UK? Does anyone need some more information? Why it might be the UK? Look, the easiest way to remember Tarshish is this. When Jonah decided he wanted to run away from God, where did he run to? We just said it. It's a trick. Tarshish, right? He ran away to Tarshish. Hop on a boat, go to Tarshish because, well, why did he go to Tarshish? Well, it's because he was going, where's the furthest place in the world? Like if he was booking flights, he would say, what's the longest flight you've got? Down there at the kiosk, long flight, please. Well, he was on a boat, and because he was getting a boat at Joppa, that tells you which direction he was heading. Now, you've got the map here. Joppa's about there. You four gentlemen, would you care to tell me which broad direction he was not heading from Joppa on a boat? All right, just think carefully, think carefully. If Jonah is on a boat roughly here, where was he not going? On a boat. East, all right. He was heading west, right? And he wanted to go as far as boats would go. And at that point, when you got to can you just stand up, put your finger down? See that tiny little gap where the two seas meet? There. All right, hold your finger there. Excellent. That is what's called the Straits of Gibraltar. It's a very narrow waterway between the Atlantic and the Mediterranean Sea. Now, the Mediterranean Sea in those days was scary if you had a ship. The Atlantic, waves too big, and there are dragons, right? And so people didn't want to go out into the Atlantic. There was only one group of people who would go out into the Atlantic called the Phoenicians. They were brave, and they had special boats called Tarshish boats that went to a place called Tarshish, and no one knew where it was, but there were dragons. And so they would take their ships out, and they protected their trade and their supply route by telling everyone, no, it's way too dangerous out there. There's dragons. In reality, there weren't dragons, in case you were wondering. I know that was important. But there was tin, and they would supply tin to the world from the United Kingdom, among other places. So, very good. You can sit down. You've done wonderfully. That finger, my word. All righty. So, Tarshish, young lions. Anyone who knows who the young lions is? Yes. Everyone under the Commonwealth. Exactly. Broadly, island nations that are on islands or remotely connected by sea, mostly that speak English. All right. Last one, Sheba and Dedan. Now, this is hard, so I won't ask you. I'm going to show you Sheba and Dedan because it is hard. All right. Real quick, though, Sheba and Dedan. Where was Sheba? Believe it or not, modern-day Yemen. Now, Yemen doesn't... Anyone know what Yemen's doing at the moment? In the news? It's pretty annoying for pretty much everyone, even us. So, see how Yemen is just north of a particular body of water called the Red Sea? What they've done is they've gone to the Iranians and said, could you give us a stack of missiles because we would like to have a party and shoot some? And they've said, who do you want to shoot them at? And they've said ships. And the Iranians have said, fine, how many do you want? And so a group of people in Yemen, this is true, called the Houthis, also true, are busy shooting missiles at ships in the middle of that piece of sea, causing no end of trouble. So tricky to understand at the moment, but they will in the day to come be Sheba. So this is the ancient city of Sheban inside Yemen. It's called the Manhattan of the desert because these towering office blocks, they're not office blocks, they're homes, and they're made of mud bricks. Sheban. That's what it looks like from the outside. 9 stories, made of brick, built in the 16th century. Bit scary to live on the top floor, I imagine. Alrighty, and Dedan, well, here's a map of the Saudi peninsula, and if we zoom in just a little bit, I don't know if you can see, let's see if I can make that a little bit bigger. Can you see Dedan on it? It's a bit blurry, but can you see Dedan? Just underneath the pin, it says Al-Ula Dedan. Can you see that? That's Dedan. Dedan was an ancient city of power in Saudi Arabia. And so, I'll just leave that up for a minute. That's kind of what Dedan looks like today. It's not quite so powerful as it once was. Okay, so we've got all the nations. Any questions with that extremely boring bit? Nope. Okay, thank goodness we got through that bit. So let's just put them on a map. I'm going to sit down and you guys can tell me where they go again. So let's start with the red side. Who's on the red side? Them. Nice. Yeah, not going to work. All right. Gog, who I don't have a location for yet. I believe he's in hiding. Anyone else? The young lions. So they're on the red side? Yeah, green or blue side. Okay, so let's go with the red ones for a little bit. Tubal. Where did we say Tubal was? Middle of Russia. All right, there we go. Boom. Libya. Excellent. Well done. Ethiopia, which we said was Sudan, didn't we? Ish. Anywhere else? Magog, which was Eastern Europe broadly. Rash, which was, well done, that man. Good work. And so let's just put some stickers up so we know who we're talking about. Anyone else? Meshach, which is, good memory. Anyone else? There's at least one more. Two more. Rosh we've got. Dedan's on the blue side or the green side, but good try. Yep. Persia. Very nice, which is Iran. Tagora. I love it. And here we go. We said it was, what was Tagora? Tagoma? What was it? Between the two seas, and it's the cheat for it's a stan, right? So all the stands. Anywhere a stand. Very good. So, and we can add in a few others that are not in Ezekiel 38. Well, we didn't cover. Oh, that's the one we didn't do. Gomer. We didn't do Gomer. Someone should have shouted out. Oh, no. All right. Who knows where Gomer is? That's a pretty good approximation. Nice work. Gomer was the father of the Galatians, that is to say the Gauls, and some of you, your parents would have wisely made you read good history books, and you would know exactly who the Gauls are, right? So, the Gauls, the Gallic people, broadly Western Europe. Alrighty, so we'll put them on the map too. So that's our red side. Let's do the blue side. Who's on the blue side? Young lions. We'll come to that one last. You are right. We'll come to it last. Let's do Tarshish first. Tarshish is UK. Good. Thank you. There we go. Where else have we got? Sheba and Dedan. Sheba is Libya? Nope. Yemen. With its crazy Houthis and their love of missiles. Alrighty. Oops, clicked the wrong one. Let's just go back to that. Sorry, everybody. If it'll let me. Is it up there on the slide projection or not? It is. Well, it's not for me, so that's rather unfortunate. Just give me a sec. Sorry about this, everybody. How do I? Yeah, I think so. It's just expanded. There we go. Fixed. All right. Technical difficulties here on the ranch. All right. So we're just doing the blue for a little bit. So give me the blue. So we had these guys, the UK already. Someone gave me Yemen. I got them. Saudi Arabia, which was what? Called Dedan. Yep. Good work. I'm going to put in these guys because I think sort of UAE, Qatar, those kind of guys will be part of this as well. And then Young Lions. So who's that? Who's the Young Lions? Australia. Excellent. There you go. Canada. America. That's a controversial one. Let's put it on. I think they might be. The criteria is, were they a young lion? And Virginia, the state of Virginia is called Virginia because, well, the Virgin Queen invaded at some point. She was the ruler of Virginia. All right, who else we got? New Zealand with their mighty 3 rowboats. All righty. And Tasmania, lest we forget. Let's put Tasmania on the map. Important part with their 2-headed people. Good. Who else have we got? Anyone else you think might be part of it? You want me to do Fiji? There you go. Done. India. Okay, good stuff. On it goes. Any others? South Africa. Yeah, good guess. That'll work. All right. So I'll just quickly put the red ones on again so you can see them. And we can see, because what I want you to look at here is there's a particular kind of difference in the layout. So, oops, not that one, that one. Have a look at the layout and tell me what's different. The blue are spread out. And I'm going to just make one comment. We are not on the blue side, young people. We're not. And we kind of want to barrack for Britain and the young lions because, well, that's where we come from. No, that's not our side. We're citizens of Zion. We are in the angels' war room. And this is me not picking on you, mate. I know because I feel the same way. Oh, that's my country. But we're not. Both of these are the kingdoms of men. We are on God's side. And when you hear talk about sides in the meeting, shut it down fast. If someone comes to you and says, oh, Trump, or someone comes and says to you, oh, Biden, or Albanese, or Dutton, or any of those, shut it down. We are not on sides, young people, because we're on God's side. Never, ever let us be on a side. Even when it comes down to Palestinians or Jews, we love the Jews for the Father's sake. That doesn't mean we necessarily love what they're doing. And we have to be really careful. We're on God's side. All right. So the big thing is these guys are spread out. The blue guys are all spread out around the world. And that's a problem. Because it means that whereas when Russia wants to invade the Middle East, they don't have to go that far. When Canada wants to send, I don't know, some maple syrup to support the war effort, it's got to go a long way, doesn't it? When Australia wants to send its military kangaroos into battle, they've got to travel all the way across the world. And so that's a problem. And it's going to make it more difficult in the war to come. So let's get into this stuff. What we're going to do now is we're going to map the war out from now until the end of Armageddon. And we're just going to see how it's going to happen. I'm going to need some help here. So we've mapped it out on the screen. You can see it. Let's start with where we think we need to place some red soldiers. So where is there? Let's give it a name. There. On the map. Great work, yes. Can we get any more specificity? You can give me either ancient name or modern name. I will take either. Chad? No? Russia. So, gentlemen, are you able to see Russia? You'll see a sort of yellow square that says Moscow, and you can start piling some red soldiers there because I think we can be relatively confident that there are Russian soldiers in Russia, right? Where else do you think there are Russian soldiers today? Ukraine. Can anyone see where Ukraine is on the map? Nice work. Good work. These are fast study, that one. Now, if it keeps on falling over, just he's lying down. He's having a nap. All right. So let's put some in Ukraine as well. So if you need to, yep. Where else? Let's get them down as quick as we can and find some other places. Any suggestions? Where else? Iran. So could I get someone to fling us a few handful of soldiers over this way for Iran? Excellent work. Where else are there likely to be Russian soldiers and military investments today? Say again? Sudan. Excellent. Now, at this stage, Sudan is kind of a little bit off our map, but you're absolutely right. Sudan is probably roughly where you guys in the back row are sitting. That's Sudan, just there, where you are. You're Sudan. All right. Any others where you think there might be some Russian soldiers? Now, I'm detecting Libya. Yep. So Libya is approximately where you are, Jake. So do you want to grab a handful or two of the red guys? There you go. Now, why have we got one? Have we conquered? Does that look like Sweden? Not Sweden. Switzerland's being invaded? When did that happen? All righty. Anywhere else got some red soldiers? I can tell you a few places, but I'd love you to have a crack at it. Europe. On our map. So at the moment, on our map, where do you think there are Russian soldiers? The stand. So Georgia's this one here. So does someone want to put, I'm not doing it for you, man. You can put them down. So Georgia has, been invaded. And one of these two, now I always forget, Armenia and Azerbaijan are at war, and I forget which side is the Russian side. Armenia. So this is Armenia. We need someone here. Now, up there, you'll find Belarusia. We need some in Belarusia. It's right north of Ukraine. And I need, Mr. Scott, could you examine the northern coastline of Europe there? And there's a place called, what's it called? It's a Russian enclave just on the coast that begins with a K name. I'm having a mental blank, an old man moment. It's something like Königsberg. Kaliningrad. So look for Kaliningrad. No, it's the northern coast of the Europe bloc itself, and it's called Kaliningrad. It will just be a city in Germany. So you're looking in Germany on the coastline. If you can't find it, just pick one place and bang a single shoulder. No, it'll be further up this way. Yep. Some in Lithuania? Next to Lithuania. So look next to Lithuania. All right. Where else? Syria. There's a bunch in Syria because of the war. So let's send some down to Syria. Anywhere else that we can think of where there are Russian soldiers today? You got Kaliningrad? Yeah, okay, all right. Now, I don't need a line of them. I just need a little pocket of just one or two. Now, that one's very, very interesting. So what happened is, during the Second World War, the Russians came swarming across Europe, this red wall of invasion, and then they had this treaty, and then they decided to hold on to one little bit called Kaliningrad. It's just a city that they've held on to. And here's the scary bit. They don't tell anyone whether they've put nukes there or not. They've got the option to put nukes in the middle of Europe, and no one can do anything about it because it's their land. Right in the middle of Europe. Okay, did you find Belarus for me? That's just north of Ukraine. So just north of Ukraine, we'll have some more. And then just south of Ukraine, you'll see there's a funny little territory that's kind of weird shape called Moldova. I need some soldiers on the border of Moldova because, believe it or not, there's Russian soldiers in Moldova. So let's put some there. Anyone ready to have a crack at Moldova? No? All right. What about the other team? Where are they? Where are the green/blue team? Anyone want to hazard a guess on the map? Don't tell me Australia, because otherwise I just have to get someone walking outside the hall with some soldiers in their hand. Where are they? Anyone want to have a crack? Cyprus. Well done. So could I put a few green soldiers in Cyprus? Excellent. Where else? Oh, God, with a rocket launcher. Threatening. Scotland. Okay, let's put some in Scotland. Where else? Anyone got others? Now, everybody, we need to come up with more ideas, and we're slowing down. Where else? Iraq, great. Peacekeeping forces in Iraq. So let's put some peacekeepers, some green peacekeepers in Iraq. A generous handful of soldiers in Iraq. Where else? Yes, but they're not really, the Ukraine's not really another side yet. Well, I'll tell you where. There are American soldiers through Germany still. Massive American air bases in Germany. So let's remove the errant red soldiers in Germany, the ones that are lying down on the job, lazy dogs. And you can put a generous handful of green soldiers into Germany. And what about the rest of Britain? I reckon the Scots have invaded. So let's put some more green soldiers in Britain. Excellent. And remember what I said about Gibraltar? Everyone with me? Gibraltar, remember that rock? Guess who owns it? Anyone know? Who owns Gibraltar? England! Well done, that man. So let's put a soldier on Gibraltar. Saudi Arabia, good stuff. So let's put some green soldiers in Saudi Arabia. So, couple of things I want to point out at this point. So, I need you all to listen because we're going to be focusing now on the strategic objectives of this mission. If you're going to make a contribution in this war, you need to understand the strategic implications of what's going on here. There are two things I want you to point out to you. Firstly, where we have got that generous, it looks like a mech on Gibraltar, well done. Like I said, Gibraltar is a very narrow waterway, and one of the reasons the British will not give it up is because it takes one We can joke. It'll take one pistol to close Gibraltar. It's such a narrow waterway that they can close it off very, very easily. And in so doing, they would command the entrance and exit on that end to the Mediterranean. That's going to be important in a minute. I want you, sir, to just stand up. And do you know where Gallipoli is? You're looking in the wrong direction. Yes. So see that narrow sort of bridge that goes across the bottom of the Black Sea? Do you know what I mean? Yeah, just put your finger there for a minute. That's a very, very important waterway too. And the reason is it's incredibly narrow, and there is a treaty called the Treaty of Montreux that describes who can come in and who can go out of that waterway. You are not allowed to go through that waterway as a military vessel unless you're smaller than a certain size. And because of that, the Americans made a special vessel specifically to be exactly the right size to go through that waterway. It's not because it's a small waterway and they can't fit it. It's legally the right size to go in and out of that waterway. But guess who borders that particular sea, the Black Sea, and has got a reasonable sized navy that's busy getting sunk at the moment? Russia. Russia's got a navy. Now, this is really important because there's really only 3 ways into the Black Sea, which is, the Mediterranean Sea over here near Israel where they're going. If Russia wants to bring a navy, and everyone wants a navy because navies means you can bring really big guns. You can lift your finger off now. And by the way, that was great kind of pointing. Loved it. Fantastic work. Have you practiced that? So Russia wants its navy in the Mediterranean when this war begins. But they know that the British have got a mech in Gibraltar, right? A terrifying no, they haven't got a robot, but they know the British can clutch Gibraltar. And furthermore, even if the Russians did want to send their navy out of their harbors up there where all those red soldiers are, they would then have to sail their navy round and past Germany and past the scary, scary nation of Denmark with their delicious pastries, and then up and round past Sweden, very threatening nation, and then past Britain. See, they have to go past Britain, and then they have to get past Gibraltar. If you were the Russian Navy, that's not the direction you want to go. That's not a good way to get your ships in, because the British would say, no, don't come this way. So where else can they get ships into the Mediterranean? Well, you, sir, see the top of the point of the Egyptian Sea? Yep, that is called, hold your finger right there. Anyone know what that's called? Suez Canal. And it's absolutely vital. As we said the other night, the most lucrative waterway in the world. Now, if Russia wants to find a way into the Mediterranean to bring its big guns in, that's another way. But it's a problem for them. Because you see, here's Russia. Where's the end of Russia? Let me work it out. It's about here on the map. This, if I had a proper map, this is about where the end of Russia is. Way over here. And they're way over here at Vladivostok, they've got great big naval ports. Now, 2 problems with those ports. 1, it gets very cold and sometimes they get iced in. So you don't want to be trying to get your ships out in winter. And secondly, it's a terribly long way to row. All the way from way over there, row, to get you up the Suez Canal and into the Mediterranean Sea. So the best way for them to get into the Mediterranean Sea is through that narrow gap there. Who owns that gap at the top of the Black Sea? You can move your pointer finger again. Nicely done. Graceful, actually. Elegant. Who owns that narrow waterway right there? No, this one over here that you were pointing at a minute ago. The Bosphorus, it's called. Who owns it? Turkey. See, he's on the ball. He doesn't look like it, but he is. It's Turkey. Turkey is the one. So sometimes we say, well, why will Russia invade Turkey? Do you know why Russia invade Turkey? They want that waterway. And just recently, You might have heard the Ukrainians have had a lot of luck with their missiles. They seem to be really good at just saying, I wonder what this thing does. Click. Off goes this missile. Oh, look at that. A Russian ship. And they're having lots and lots of luck with that at the moment. And the Russians have really, really wanted to get some extra ships back into the Black Sea. Because if you just have to wait till you've made one beside the Black Sea, because there's no other entrances to the Black Sea, it takes a while. And the Turks said, really sorry, but we might be able to get you into the calendar to come through in about 2035. You're not coming in. That will have really got up the noses of the Russians. So we wonder why Russia invades Turkey. There's the big reason. All right, so let's start this war, shall we? Where are they going to go first? Where do the Russians go? Now, by the way, I'm going to tell you something I didn't tell everybody early on. There's a reason they don't first head for the Middle East. It's first in the War of Armageddon, but it's not first in our story tonight. Where do you think they might go first? Europe. Because you see, we have to have all the red guys on the same side. And right now, there's a whole bunch of blue-green guys in the middle of red territory. So somehow, Russia has to get rid of these. Now, we go, okay, well, probably be a treaty. They'll get friends with the Germans and that'll kick them out. So let's kick out the green guys that are in Germany. Excellent. Good, good. And let's put some red guys in Germany because now, they're effectively red, right? But don't yet put them in France because you see, the French, and if you're in the back row, maybe pull out your Bible. I'm going to show you something I think is really cool in a minute based on this. The French don't really like joining anyone's party, right? The French is a nation where they kind of go, well, look, we're happy to do an Olympics as long as everyone acknowledges we invented it and did it first. That's yeah. Well, we're happy with pavlova as long as you guys acknowledge that French invented pavlova before anyone else. Yeah, we're happy with those. Kangaroos? No, we invented them first. That's a French person, right? They have to be first and best. And so Brother Thomas said this, the French will not want to serve in the army of the Russians. He said, and here's his exact words, the conquered and crestfallen host of Napoleon, who was just dead by the time of Brother Thomas and serves as a sort of placeholder for a French ruler, will give his armies to do service for the Russians on the mountains of Israel. He thought that the French would be invaded by the Russians. Now, he might be right, he might be wrong, but given what we know of the French and the way they hate playing second fiddle, especially to the Germans, it's possible. So let's put some red soldiers in France, shall we? Somebody, anybody. Alrighty. Now, those in the back row, have a look at this. I think this is really cool. When you read verse 3 and 4, it talks about Rosh, Meshach, and Tubal, and here's what it says. Rosh, Meshach, and Tubal, listen carefully. I'm going to bring you forth Rosh, Meshach, and Tubal, and you will have all your army. You'll have horses, you'll have horsemen, you'll have all sorts of armor, you'll have a great company, you'll have bucklers, you'll have shields, you'll have swords. And then it says this, Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya, all of them will have shield and helmet. And then it says, Gomer and the house of Dagama, the French, and these guys over here who've kind of been invaded by the Russians, all of them will have, oh no, sorry, it doesn't say that. Did you spot the difference? Can anyone spot the difference between those three groups of nations? Magog, Rosh, Meshach, and Tubal, number one. Number two, Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya. Number three, this is not going to last for long, Togarmah and Gomer. What's the difference in that story with those three groups? Close. In fact, that was Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya who only had shields and helmets. So when you read through it again and we have a look at it for those in the back row, what you'll notice is that Rosh, Meshach, and Tubal, it says, Say unto Rosh, Meshach, and Tubal, take with you your armored personal carriers, your intercontinental ballistic missiles, your attack tanks, your attack helicopters, your jet fighters, your long-range bombers, and go forth into the middle of the land. I'm translating the ancient Hebrew, which has the word attack bomber. And then Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya, all of them, it says shield and helmet. And what it means is defensive weapons. That's what a shield is, right? A helmet. Why? Why do Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya only get, well, I'll tell you why. You see, Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya are largely populated with people who wear big beards and like to hop on buses with things that tick and go boom. Right? You know what I mean? Now, I'm being very, very generalizing here, and I shouldn't be, but these are the countries that invented terrorism as we know it today. Persia, Iran, Sudan, Libya. These are the sort of nations who, look, they're all good when they're having a great day, but they have a bad beard day, and you've given them an intercontinental missile, and they might just send it back at you. And so the Russians only give those nations defensive weapons. And then there's the third group, Goma, who doesn't want to play second fiddle to anyone, and these guys, some of whom just got invaded by the Russians, they don't even want to be there, let alone carry a weapon. And so they get nothing. Because he knows, look, the most we can do is get them to bring some Band-Aids and some baguettes. I mean, that's what the French, they can bring that. They might sharpen them, but we think we'll be okay with sharpened baguettes. And so, man, hard audience, guys. That was funny. Come on. Come on. Alrighty. So, there are 3 different tiers in this army that are going to come. And so, it suggests that perhaps the French will be conquered. Now the story starts as we did the other night. Where are they going first on the way to Armageddon? They've conquered Europe. They will probably strike a strong alliance with the Greeks. Does anyone know why they'll strike a strong alliance with the Greeks? I'll tell you why. Because the Greeks hate the Turks' guts. That's what they say in diplomatic circles. So let's put some red soldiers in Greece, because they're probably heading that way. Just a bunch of them, just a handful will be good. And where do they go from Greece? Anyone know? It's pretty obvious because, they're heading in a particular direction towards Armageddon now. Turkey. So let's put some in Turkey. They're going to capture Turkey. 1, generous. Excellent. 1 lone soldier. Probably would take about that to conquer Turkey, but yeah, okay. We're going to need a few more because we've got to get all the way down to Egypt. Now, at this point, Russia has to take all the territory of the King of the North. And one of the territories of the King of the North was Iran. Now, it probably won't be too hard, Iraq, because one imagines that the Iraqis would be quite happy to get rid of the American troops. So let's take all the American troops out of Iraq now. Very good. You can put them in Saudi if you like. And where are they going now? Anyone want to hazard a guess? This is tricky stuff. We covered it the other night. Where are they going? France, again, because they want more baguettes. Nope. Where are they going? Nope. Egypt. Let's invade Egypt. So let's get a line of soldiers marching down towards Egypt. Now, you don't need to move those ones out. They can stay right where they were in Saudi. Good work. But we need a line of soldiers running from here, Turkey, which they've captured, down to Egypt. So a nice line of, and let's put them on the coastline in Israel rather than invading other countries that we're not ready for quite yet. Now, yes, good. All right. So, why did they go to Egypt? You know the strategic reasons. Repeat it back to me. They went to Egypt because they wanted The Suez Canal. Excellent. Because you see, now if they need to get more ships in, they can do it through the Suez Canal. And best yet, they can charge everybody money who wants to use the Suez Canal, and they can rule the world. And it means they can get their ships out to places where they can do even more damage. What happens then? Anyone know? Well, we're going to put this very classy flag up. Can you put that on the Sinai Peninsula, which is just at the bottom of the map, very bottom of the map? It's there, right there. That'll do. What's that representing? Anyone? Us. Exactly right. That is the saints in Sinai with Jesus Christ. And somewhere in this flow, we go there. And we haven't got any soldiers in Egypt yet. Most of them are in Sinai for some reason. Let's move them into Egypt, because that's where they're going. Next door, just next door. Very good. All right. Great stuff. Thank you. So what happens next? Tidings out of the north and out of the east troubled him. So let's have a look at this. So what will probably happen is these guys will now start pushing up this way. That'll do, that'll do, that'll do. Perfect. So, if you're a Russian, you know your Russian history. Does anyone want to tell me what happened when Napoleon invaded Russia? It didn't work out at all well, nope. Yep, poor soldiers who had to eat frozen baguettes for months on end. But what happened ultimately to Napoleon's army? Destroyed. And if you had to sort of say the cause was, do you know what it was? Winter and a very long supply line. It took months for anything from France to reach the front line. And that was a real problem, because by the time the woolen mittens knitted in France arrived in Moscow, their fingers had already snapped off. And you think I'm joking, but I'm not. That's exactly what happened to the French soldiers. Now, Hitler had another crack at the same thing. And do you know what happened to him? Exactly the same thing. Long supply lines meant that things took a long time to get to the front line, and it was too late to help the soldiers who needed them when people tried to invade Russia. And Russia knows that lesson. And you have a look. It's a very long supply line all the way down to Egypt there. And so what is he looking at when he sees tidings out of the north and the east? Well, he's seeing a potential cut in his supply line right here. What happens if that line is cut? Well, it means folks down in Egypt, no more vodka. Long, long way for vodka. And what else do Russians eat? Caviar and smoked herring. Hard to get smoked herring and caviar in Egypt. And he's worried that the tidings out of Cyprus, due north, and out of Jordan, due west, will cut, east, pardon me, thank you so much, will cut his supply line. Can you see that? Can you see why that would be a problem? If you're in the back row and you haven't seen it, feel free to stand up or push someone's head out of the way, or exactly. So it's a real problem for him. So what does he do? He turns around. He leaves just 2 soldiers, that mean a garrison in Egypt, and he heads back. Where does he head to? This is the real thing, the bit that we're interested. Where's he going? Israel. So let's roll those up. Let's leave just 2 as a garrison and put all the rest in Israel. And look at how many soldiers are now in Israel. Some of them are lying down, but my word, there's a lot of soldiers in Israel, aren't there? Now, there will be a lot more red soldiers in Israel by this point. They won't be quite so overwhelmed by green soldiers, I think, at that stage. But nonetheless, it says he will come north. He will set his tabernacle between the 2 seas and the glorious holy mountain. He will come north with great fury to utterly make away many. It's going to be a terrible time for the Jews. And when that happens, That's when Jesus leaves Sinai. And where does he go to? Ooh, trick. So this is the problem. If I ask trick questions at the start, everyone thinks the last questions are trick questions too. Where does Christ go to from Sinai? He doesn't. He goes to Egypt and Israel after that. Straight after that. So let's take Christ and his, I'm not sure what happened to him there, but let's take that flag. And like we said the other day, he goes right across the Red Sea. He walks on water, possibly. And let's take out those red soldiers in Egypt. Bam, done. And then he's going to come back the same way. So let's bring him back. And he's going to go up to a place called Bozrah, which is right at the bottom of the Dead Sea, not the Red Sea, which is pretty much where the bottom of the red soldiers are. And he's going to fight a great battle there that probably wipes out the majority of our green guys, just our green guys. Excellent. They're all lying over. Good. That says what we need it to say. Where does he go from there? Jerusalem. Let's take him to Jerusalem. And before we finish things, I want to tell you one other thing that I find super cool and really quite spooky. I'm going to read you a passage. It's not a long passage, I promise. And for those of you who are going, oh, how long is he going to talk for? We're almost done. So I'm reading you a section out of Isaiah 17, and I saved this for you. I was going to put it in the studies, and I thought, you know what? I'll save it for the young people. It's Isaiah 18, and it says this. Now, this is a kingdom passage. It says, woe to the land of shadowing with wings, which is beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, that sends ambassadors by the sea, even in vessels of bulrushes upon the waters, saying, go ye swift messengers to a nation scattered and peeled. A nation scattered and peeled? Did that sound weird to you too? Scattered and peeled? Sounds painful, right? This is described as one of the hardest to translate verses in the whole Bible. But here's what it actually says. It says this, Ho, land of overshadowing wings extending beyond the rivers to Cush, which sendeth by sea whirling things, even upon vessels of fleetness to a people scattered around the world. Whirling things. What do you think poor old Isaiah was seeing when he was told there would be these fast vessels with whirling things? What was he seeing? Anyone want to guess? Before you do, let me tell you what Brother Thomas guessed. He said, undoubtedly paddle wheel steamers. What do you think he saw? Vessels, shipping vessels that go underwater called helicopters. Yeah, good try. What was that? Submarines, anything in the sea with a propeller. He saw these great ships forging through the water. Behind them was something whirling, leaving foam behind them as these great military vessels stormed through the sea. And here's the other thing. That bit at the start that says, woe to the land of shadowing wings, the ancient Hebrew describes a zinging or a roaring sound overhead. They got confused. They said it's kind of like a mosquito, but it's louder. We don't know how to translate it. And one of the translators said, it's these kind of wings flying overhead. And Brother Thomas said, errant nonsense. Nothing of the sort. He lived before the Wright brothers. What do you think he saw there? Planes. Isaiah saw planes flying overhead. And what he's seeing is the military, massive ships forging through the sea, jet fighters flying overhead, and Isaiah's going, how do I write this? What do I say? Zinging things overhead, ships with whirly things. I can't explain it. Isn't that amazing, young people? We kind of think that all they saw was old stuff, horses and carts. That's not a very scary army. They didn't. They saw the now. Isaiah saw it. And here we are. We're right at the end of the story, and Christ is walking up the slope towards Jerusalem, and what happens? That happens, right? A great earthquake knocks all these soldiers over, wherever they might be. And then we go forth to fight as saints. Now, we talked about this the other night. What are some of the weapons we're going to use as saints in this war? Hail. Not little stingy hail, big hail. And check me out. Go looking for a thing called a mega cryometer. A mega cryometeor. Look it up on Wikipedia. You're going to find the stuff about it. And they will say exactly what I said. It falls out of a clear blue sky and no one knows where it comes from. And yes, it didn't come out of the toilet of a plane. They know that. It's not blue, right? They've looked because that was the obvious thing. And they go, we don't know what this thing is. It just fell out of a clear blue sky, 200 kilos. It left a hole in my Porsche. There will be lightning. There will be brimstone. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine? There's the tank and you call down lightning bolts. All of a sudden, all of his stuff doesn't work. His phone's charged, but the rest not working. Can you imagine? Fire from heaven. And here's this poor guy and he's driving along the armored personnel carrier with 50 rounds of bullets for all the other soldiers and it blows up. We will be fighting this war, young people. And it's really important that we understand why it's happening. It's happening because the world is and always has been at war with God. We've got to understand this. We've got to keep on reminding ourselves. Sometimes the world feels like a fun place. It's at war with God. And whose side are we on? God's. God's got this war. We're on God's side. And in the end, we're not on any of these nations' side. We're on God's side and we'll fight this war together.